Good deal. Let's see if we can get full focus. No, not a chance. That's good enough. All right, so thanks for joining. Hopefully we get some people coming in from Tom's talk that just ended. I think that we had a great discussion, got to see a live demo and some great questions. So hopefully everyone's excited to see Tyler's deeper dive into migrating your POP projects, migrating to POP. Give him a couple minutes to jump in and then get started. Let's see. All right. While we're waiting for Tyler to join, if you have any questions or something you'd like to see specifically about migrating your POP project, go ahead and share that in the chat. Here, Tyler's here. I'll add him to the video. There we go. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. I have to say we had a great session with Tom that just ended. His kind of the POP into the future session. And so I'm really helpful that we have, 70 of the people that were there might follow POP into this session. So,
wow,
I mean,
big shoes to fill.
I know. There's a lot of excitement, some good questions, and I think
Awesome.
Tom laid the groundwork and explained the foundation, and so I think it's a great segue. I'm glad that these are back to back. What's that?
He set him up, I knock him down type of thing.
That's right.
In a good way.
In a good way, yep.
Let me see if I can get my camera working.
All right.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm not getting my video working very well.
All right, let's see. Looks like Tyler's still experimenting with his video. And he's gone. There you go.
Yeah, so I can answer that question. How do you address the risk of making changes to code that is being used by others? I saw contract folders that define the interface for other apps to know what they can expect. That is a very great question, and we'll address contracts when we get in there a little bit at a deeper level once we start. But contracts define a pattern for plugins. We can create a plugin for item execution modules for AWS, and we can make a contract that says, I expect all returns from an item AWS exec module to look like this. Or I want all of the function arguments to have at least these parameters and not these ones, and they must be these types. So contracts allow us to enforce what other people extend our code with.
Perfect.
No problem, and I hope to show some examples of that when we get in. I'm going to refresh my page one more time to try and get my camera.
No worries. I'll perfect. So while he's gone, I'll introduce Tyler real quick. So Tyler is, of course, with the Salt team at VMware. Tyler first used Salt as an assistant Linux systems admin in college. There he founded and led the Linux Club. He serves on the core team of Utah Open Source. Tyler's been pivotal in developing POP item and maintains more than 20 projects. And I think I can hear you again, Tyler.
Awesome. I can't get my video working, so this is where we're at. Okay. Thank you, Nick, for that. Nick and Randy, you guys are awesome too.
All right, I'll drop. Do you have any slides to share, or just want to make sure the tech is working for you?
I don't have that many slides. I'm going to do this like I used to do my Twitch streams back in the day, and I hope to do more of those again. So we're going to talk on migrating your projects to POP. And funny, Nicholas and Randy are in here because my conversations with you guys, with Daniel Robbins, with a couple other people in actually doing this is the inspiration of this talk. And so I just want to talk about some of the core utilities of inside of POP and item and how you can instantly make use of them. And I'm hoping that by the end of this demo this presentation, that you'll be able to get started right away with your own POP project. So these are my reasons for using POP. It's ESP. There's a whole ecosystem with POP. We have account, we have Tmat, we have so many different tools that make it easy to program inside of POP. It's simple. POP tends to solve the problem that Salt had and many other projects where, and you probably heard Tom talk about this in his talk, where projects easily become monoliths, where it's like, we want so many execution modules packed into Salt. But with item and POP, we can easily have those projects. Like we can have item cloud be its own project, and even item AWS within item cloud be its own project, and have all of these isolated projects that are easy to maintain, extend, easy to grok, and they all fit together seamlessly. So that's the idea with POP, is breaking up monoliths. And that goes into the pluggability, which is we have horizontal app merging, which is, say if you want grains v2, which is the POP way of getting grains, you can make your own app, you can make your own Python project that extends grains v2. You can just use grains, and you don't need all of Salt to have Salt grains. Or you can extend Tmat, like we have a project packager that uses Tmat, and so many other things that use Tmat, or you can just use Tmat by itself. And those are the concepts of app merging and vertical app merging. If it doesn't make sense now, I hope to, I want to give a couple examples, and I hope that really makes everything come together. So this is my last slide. I know you might see another slides there in the background. This is really the last one. The biggest problem I see when bootstrapping people into Salt is, how does it all fit together? Because you hear about POP and item and grains v2, and then you get in there and you see like item validator, item cloud. This is how it all fits together. So let's just look at some of these projects that exist inside of POP, some of these resources that we have. So first is we have POP. It's the programming paradigm. That's it. Next off of POP, we have item. Item is the, can I zoom in a bit? Yes, maybe if I click present mode. There we go. Wow, that is not doing what I think it should. I apologize for this. Can I zoom in? Long story short, maybe. How's that? Okay. So item is the, you can think of it as the execution and state module system from Salt. It's the evolution of the execution and state module from Salt. You don't use it in exactly the same way. It has newer features, but it has execution modules and states and a whole bunch of other stuff. But for the most part, exec modules and states. And then item splits off into, we have item platform meta. And every single one of these bubbles is something that you can pip install right now. You can pip install POP, item, grains v2, grains virtualization, Salt package. Every single one of these is a POP project you can pip install. So if you were to pip install item platform meta, it would determine which platform you're on. If you are on POSIX or Windows. If you're on Windows, it'll install item Windows. If you're on POSIX, it'll install item POSIX, and then item Linux or item BSD or item Solaris and so on. So I actually invite everyone to try that right now. Just do it. Pip install item platform meta. I'm typing it into the chat. Try that out. And then as soon as that command completes, you'll have access to the grains command, because item platform meta is a project that horizontally merges item and grains v2. So by installing item platform meta, you have grains and you have states and execution modules for your specific system. So try that out. Next is the item validator, which is written by Christian McHughes. It's based on the Salt validator, where it'll run your states and verify that your item states work properly. So that's a cool project. Next off of item, we have item cloud. And item cloud, right now we just have a few clouds: AWS, Vultr, VirtualBox, Azure RM, LXD, Vagrant, and Bootstrap, which this is actually the one bubble you can't pip install, is Bootstrap. But with item, what you can do, let me pull up some code here. So let's make a new virtual environment. I'll call it migrate, because this is about migrating a project to POP. Okay. So if I pip install item platform meta, I'm going to do that. I now have access to the grains command, so says Tyler, but it doesn't actually. Wow, that is really awkward. I'm wait for things to go. Dang, that is awkward. Live demos are always a dangerous crowd. Indeed. Dang it. There. Here's a working version of the grains command in a previous environment. I did not make an offering to the demo cons. Yeah, but this should be nearly identical to the grains that you would see from Salt grains in Grains v2. And you can also, you don't need to install item platform meta. That might have been part of my problem. You can also just pip install item Linux or item Windows and one of those things. But when you install item platform meta, what is working is you have access to a couple of states right away out of the box. The first state that you have access to is command.run. So I can do item exec command.run ls. So this is how you can run exec modules directly from the command line with item. And this is how you do that. Or I can pass it arguments. I can say run it in my current working directory. Or I can say command.run cause. And so on. You also have access to states. So I have right here a simple state. This is an item state. You might notice a couple differences between Salt states. Like Dave said in the beginning, like my first experience using Salt was as a Linux systems administrator in 2012. So it's been a while since I've written Salt states for production. But this is what an item state looks like. You have command.run, your arguments, and here's one where I'm using shell is true and I'm passing it fortune with backticks. So I'm passing the output of fortune into cause. So I want to run the state just for fun. I can say item state simple.sls and just pass it the SLS file directly. I don't have to set up a cache directory, or I don't have to set up a place where where the states are traditionally read from. I need to spell item right. Boom. So I have my ls state, and then I have my cause with fortune. And because the fortune command will give me something different every time, I can keep running my state for that fun thing. Cool. So back real quick to the slides. So that's kind of how item works from the beginning. You can also, with these clouds, in particular with item AWS, you can pip install item AWS. Boom. And now instantly, I have access to all of the item AWS execution modules and states. I'm going to pop tree just as pop tree is a little project I wrote a few weeks ago that helps me visualize the hub. So so when I ran pop tree right here, I extended it with item, and this lets me see all of the things that are on the hub. So right here, I'm looking specifically at exec, and I have exec, I have AWS, and I have exec modules for Kinesis streams, KMS, EKS, SQS. There's so much stuff in here. Like it's pretty. With the states for item AWS, where we're at is you can create and destroy anything in states. You can't manage something that already exists. I mean, you can destroy it and then recreate it, but this is where item AWS is at right now. It's got a lot of features, and we're hoping that we can get further. And it looks like Chainly has run the command there, and this was my pop tree command, by the way. I said pop tree exec add sub item. And yeah. And if I do that without adding the sub, like I just do a plain pop tree, then this is just the basic stuff that is on top of pop, on top of the hub. I have hub.pop.sub.add, hub.pop.sub.extend, hub.pop.config.load, and so on. So pop tree is a cool tool if you want to debug your code or if you want to see what actually gets loaded on your hub. Like if I want to see pop tree add sub grains, then I can see what grains actually get loaded onto the hub. And that seems to be working, so I wonder why my grains command isn't working. The chat is not Markdown compatible. It is not. Okay, so let's go back to here real quick so we can see how everything fits together. That's a little bit of item cloud. Oh, I didn't actually do item cloud. I just showed that everything was actually there. Let me do the thing that I was intending. So now I have access to item cloud, and when you pip install item AWS, it works with your existing AWS configuration. So right out of the box, without doing anything such as I don't have legit AWS credentials. So if you pip install LocalStack, you can do LocalStack infra start, and you can run item AWS without legit AWS credentials. By the way, I was just running a command. This is my actual terminal. Yeah, I was just starting LocalStack over there. So here I can say item exec aws.ec2.instance.list. And I don't have any instances. So, so I'm going to run item state. I'm going to run my EC2 state real quick so I can create some stuff. So that created, just to give you an idea of what that created real quick. That created a VPC, and it used that VPC to create a subnet, and then it used that subnet to create an instance, and then it used that instance to create an EC2 image. So that's a pretty complex item state right there. But now I can use those execution modules to do that stuff. I can say item exec aws.ec2.vpc.list, and it'll show me that VPC that it just created within LocalStack. I'm doing this without legitimate AWS credentials. It's all with LocalStack. You can pip install item AWS and pip install LocalStack, and you can have this right away. And by the way, those commands, you just go pip install item AWS LocalStack. Ignore that backslash on the end. And then in another tab, do LocalStack infra start. And then you can do item AWS or item exec aws.ec2.instance.list. That's because I'm typing it into the chat. Because I wanted it to be permanent, because I'm about to go away from all of this. That is tricky. All right. The chat is not part of the video. It was just, maybe I could have typed it in here and then copy pasted it into the chat, and that would have been a better way. But Or if I type an example like that into the chat, Dave, if you could just copy it into the chat, then we can see it being typed and I don't have to type it twice.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so that's true. YouTube viewers won't see it. So we'll do that again. Pip install item AWS. If you're on Z shell, then you'll have to escape your brackets. Local stack. And then after that, just local stack infra start will set up your Docker container for running local stack. And then after that, you can do item exec aws.ec2.vpc.list. And if you pip install poptree, then you can use poptree to see what execution modules exist for item. So here we can see item.rds.group.subnet. There actually aren't any functions there. DynamoDB.table.create are examples of those things that exist. Cool. Okay. So other things that exist, Heist is the evolution of Salt SSH. And I'm going to say the evolution a lot because it isn't Salt SSH. Heist is not the equivalent of Salt SSH. This is, and it's never going to replace Salt SSH. But within the POP world, Heist is what you would use instead of Salt SSH to do Salt SSH things. It uses async SSH under the hood. It can deploy scripts, can deploy a Salt master on a target host that will run, and at the end of the process, it'll clean it up and disappear completely. So that's Heist. And I'm currently in the middle of using Heist to bootstrap a Salt minion on your item cloud. So in the near future of item cloud, you'll be able to create an AWS EC2 instance, for instance, and then use Heist to set up a Salt minion on it and accept its keys with the local master. So that's in the near future, and really that's all item cloud is bootstrapping Salt. That's all it's missing to be like usable and to be a choice instead of Salt Cloud. Like as soon as we have that, you'll be able to use item cloud instead of Salt Cloud pretty easily. So account is a project that lets us authenticate to all these clouds. So for example, I have this credentials file right here where I have my AWS credentials, where I have my default profile. In Salt Cloud, you'll have etc salt providers.d and profiles.d, and you'll have a different YAML file for every single one of your providers and profiles. In Item Cloud, everything is in a single file. You don't have profiles and providers, you just have a single credentials file. And you can think of it like this is your provider, this is your profile, and then this is all of the information for that profile. And right now I just have my actual profile is just connecting me to a local stack, my local stack instance. But you can just as easily pass it different credentials or legitimate credentials, and it'll connect to real AWS. And that's actually really handy. If you want to test your states with local stack before doing it on production AWS, I think that is an amazing feature of item AWS in particular. You can test your states in a very low stakes environment before breaking things in production, or knowing that it won't break anything in production. So there's a couple tricks to using account. Like this file has to be encrypted. It has to be, the encrypted file path has to be put in your environment. And that's all a demo for another day. I just wanted to point out that account is how Item Cloud authenticates. It's how it manages profiles and providers. Next, we have Tmat. And Randy is going to give a talk on Tmat later this evening, and I highly recommend it. He's like he's very knowledgeable about Tmat, like one of the top people to go to if you have a question about it. And so I'm going to highly recommend his talk later today. But Tmat is what will package a Python project into a single binary. Yeah, just go to Randy's talk for more on that. But Tmat is used by Packager, which is used by Salt Package, which is used to package up Salt into a single binary. Is the Vault project still around? Vault might be a part of account backends. Or Takeda, that's right. Thank you, Nick. Takeda is the secret story. So this is kind of how everything that we have kind of fits together. And I plug this a lot, but we're going to go to gitlab.com /SaltStack pop awesome. Yeah, I advocate for this heavily a lot. So this pop awesome includes every pop project out there that I'm aware of. And if there's anything missing from this list, if there's even a side project that you've done just for fun, like let's put it on this list. But this pop awesome, Dave, if you'll post this link in the chat, is your go-to for everything pop. Like every talk that's ever been given on pop that is public is here. If you want to see Tom's very first talks about pop, if you want to see the first news articles about it, if you want to see podcasts about it, then these are all the pop projects that exist. Pop config, pop create, pop or heist, rend, Takeda, Umbra, pop tree, account, item, grains, all of the item platform projects, including item platform meta, all of the different item cloud talk, item Azure, which Nick Hughes has been leading, along with all of the resources that he has for that. Item salts, Tmat documentation, all of these things. And actually, Fun2 Linux is increasingly having more and more pop involved in that OS. And I don't know how much I can say, but Daniel Robbins has some pretty awesome ideas for Fun2 Linux and for Linux in general using pop. And I don't know how much I can say about that. Is Daniel in the chat? Daniel, if you're in the chat, let me know. He is here?
Oh, no, sorry. I was thinking Randy.
Well, anyway, Fun2 Linux is making use of pop heavily and got some really cool ideas going there. Like imagine if systemd used pop's plugin system. That it's not something that exists yet, but it's like those are the ideas. That's how into pop Fun2 is headed. It's pretty cool. So, without further ado, this is how it all fits together. You can now see the giant web of everything that is pop planned. Let's make something. I'm going to go into an environment that I know has grains working. Okay. Yes. Randy says we have a whole bunch of cool features coming to Tmat, and I'm going to also reiterate the plug for his session in a little bit. So without further ado, let's look at making. Does that pop flowchart exist somewhere publicly? No. I can put it like in the community. In the community Slack, in the SaltStack community chat, there's a pop channel, and I can paste that graphic into the community pop channel real quick. Can I? Can I just paste it? If not, I'll do it after. Yeah, I can't do it right now, but I'll paste it into the community pop chat afterwards. I could also put it in the pop awesome. Thank you, Shane. That's a great idea. Okay, so you can follow along with me now. This is a repeat after me song, and create your own pop project real quick. So first thing we're going to do is pip install pop grains v2 and item. So in your new Python environment, have access to those things. Okay. And you could even install item platform meta. Try to find a version of it that works, maybe 2.1 or 2.2. I'm not sure what I did in the latest version that made my last environment barf. But or instead of item platform meta, because that one seems to be having an issue, install Grains v2 directly, and then install item Linux or item Windows yourself. I mean, item platform meta exists so that I can just pip install it on a target system, like on, let's say I created a new AWS EC2 instance and I don't know what OS is on it. I want to install item platform meta and have it install the right one. But you know what operating system you're currently on. So just install item Darwin or item Windows or item Linux, depending on what your current OS is. So once we have that, you now have access to item exec command.run ls. You should be able to run that command without a problem. You should also be able to run the grains command. Ugh. Why is that broken? That makes me angry. Let me install an older version of grains. Maybe that's what my problem is. Okay. So install Grains v2 version 11.6, and then you'll have access to Grains. So now we're going to create a new pop project. If we look here, just a regular tree, there is a couple log files. There. Now there's nothing. This is an empty directory, new empty directory. So now that we've pip installed pop and Grains v2 version 11.6 and item platform meta, you have access to the grains command. You have access to item exec command.run ls. You can run states. If you have my simple.sls, you can do item state simple.sls. And you have access to states. Let's use them now. And this is like the meat of the presentation now. This is where you'll finally see like, oh, that's how easy it is to vertically merge a project. So first, we're gonna call pop seed. Pop seed is part of pop. Dave Boucher has recently isolated it into the pop create project because pop itself is becoming a monolith. How funny is that? Its purpose is to break up monoliths into smaller pieces. So anytime there's a piece of pop that we're like, ooh, this can become its own thing, we make it its own thing. So pop seed used to be an integral part of pop, and now it is its own project. But I think it's also that pop also depends on it. Like it's part of pop's requirements.txt. So you have pop seed no matter what. Okay, pop seed, we're gonna name our new project. I'm gonna call this, I'm going to be super creative and call it new project. I'm going to say -tv because this is going to be a vertically app merged project. That's what the T is for type and the V means vertically app merged. A vertically app merged project doesn't have a run.py. I'm just going to do this. If I say new project and I just do it like this, it created the boilerplate code for a pop project. It gave me a contracts directory. It gave me a conf.py. It gave me a setup.py, a run.py, requirements.txt. Like everything I need. Like I could release this on PyPy right now. It wouldn't do anything except say new project works. But I could release this on PyPy just for fun. So I'm like the little demon on my shoulder saying, do it, release it on PyPy just because. I'm not going to. There's enough clutter on there. Yeah, so it gave me my own run.py. And all I would have to do to, somebody will. Sure, somebody will. Yeah, you know what, Shane? YOLO, let's do this. Pop release, which is another pop project. Actually, let's pip install pop release. I'm going to say pop. Now, with pop release, you have to have a file in you have to have a PyPyRC. If you have your PyPyRC set up correctly, then pop release will work without a hitch. And I'm not going to open my PyPyRC because it has my real credentials to PyPy on there. In 5 minutes, it's looking brand new. No, the do folder is making me do enough. So I'm gonna say pop release new proj 1. Nice. Oh, new project already exists on PyPy. So, darn it. Our plan has been foiled by someone else who has already done this. That's as far as I want to go. We did it. Did we do it, Shane? That would be really funny. Okay. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, and I've shown you how easy it is to release stuff on PyPy with Pop. With Pop, the release cycle of stuff is very quick. On the R&D team at Salt, we joke like, oh, you're using the latest, like you're using Pop 15. That's an old version of Pop. That's so last week. Like we release very, very quickly with these Pop projects. And that's one of the advantages of Pop is instead of Salt, where it's like you have to wait until the next release to have all the latest and greatest features, with Item AWS, I released 3 times last week in Item AWS. And the release cadence is much faster than if everything was one giant monolith project. So that's a huge advantage to these things. So how much time do I have left, Dave? Because
it's exactly
10 minutes exactly. That's enough time to do everything. If I forgot that dot, that would have been disastrous. Okay, so I'm starting over. Pop seed new project -tv, because this time I'm going to vertically @merge it. The command that I actually ran a minute ago didn't have the TV, and so it had a run.py. -tv means my run.py will be in the projects that I'm dynamically loading. So I'm going to add a -d for exec, tool, states, grains. This means I'm going to dynamically extend exec, tool, states, and grains. So I'm creating a vertically @merge project. My run.py will be somewhere else. I won't get a run.py with this project. And I'm going to dynamically extend exec, tool, states, and grains. So let's run this command. Boom. So this gave me, when I ran my tree command, it's a little different from when I did it before. I don't have a run.py, but I still have a requirements.txt and a setup.py. I can still release this project on PyPy. But if I look in my conf.py, it says you are dynamically extending exec, tool, states, and grains. When all of these projects, exec, tool, states, and grains, happen to be vertically @merged projects, which means everything I put in my exec, grain, states, and tool folder will be dynamically added to the hub. And they'll inherit the recursive contracts that these projects implement, which right now is nothing. But coming soon, we will have recursive contracts so that anyone who writes an exec, vertically @merges exec will have to follow the same patterns and have a consistent return value from exec modules and states across vertically @merged projects. Okay, so let's use this. So you have access to the grains command, right? Yeah. You want access to a specific grain? You can type like grains virtual, and it'll just give you the virtual grain. I'm throwing that out there real quick just because we're about to make a new grain. We're going to extend grains, and then we're going to extend item exec. Then we're going to extend item state if we have time for it. So in your new project, let's open new project /grains/ actually micter new project grains and new grain. So I'm just creating an arbitrary nested folder because everything for grains, everything below grains in the grains project or any project that vertically merges grains, every folder recursively below grains will be added to the hub. So I'm just going to open this file. I'm going to create a new function, def, blah, blah, blah. Hub is the first argument because this is a pop project. I'm going to say hub.grains.grains.zzzzz equals stuff. In previous demos, I've called this load something, but then people are like, oh, does it have to start with load? And so I made it complete gibberish this time to show you that it can be whatever you want. So the grains project, all it does really is it creates this data structure on the hub for grains. And so all I need to do to extend grains is add something to that data structure. And this, there's some special things about the grains data structure. It's an owner writable mapping. And I'll show you what that means in a second. First, let's add my current directory to the Python environment by pip installing it. And I run the grains command, and I have a new grain, zzzzzzz, that has ASDLF, JK, it just has the garbage that I made that grain be on it. So that's how easy it is to extend grains. With what we did in the past 5 minutes, that's all you need. And then you can push this project to PyPy. Someone can pip install new project if I had gotten to that name first, and instantly their grains command would be updated to have these grains. Pretty cool. So let's say I want to make use of exec modules in my grains. So like I want to say hub.grains.grains.zzls equals, I'm going to need to make this an async function now because I'm about to call async code. Await hub.exec.command.run ls. So now I have a new grain called zzls that has the output of the ls command in the current working directory. So that's how easy it is. With item Linux, with item platform meta, with item, with grains v2, it is voodoo magic. It's so easy to extend grains. You don't have to wait till the next release of Salt. You can just make your own project, release it on PyPy, and then just make it a requirement of your systems, which you can already do with Salt. So this is how easy it is to extend grains. It is voodoo magic. And just for fun, we're going to make another function that loads another grain. So every function inside of the grains folder gets recursively added to the hub. And then when you call the grains command, it just recursively calls every single one of those grain collection functions. So any function I add here is going to be run. If I add a function here with another silly name and I say print taco, and I run my grains command, it's going to print the word taco. Every single function in here gets run. That's just part of how grains v2 works. So here, let's say I have another function, or someone vertically merges a project that tries to overwrite a grain. I'm going to get an error. It's going to say, hey, your new project is trying to overwrite a grain that was previously assigned by another function. And it's going to tell me the function that originally wrote that grain. So yeah, the grains data structure is an owner writable mapping. Grains can only be overwritten by the function that created them. So within the same project, within the same function, I can override a grain as many times as I want. But as soon as I leave that function, that grain is kind of locked in stone and no one else can change it. Is there a way to prevent these extensions if you had a secure environment where you wanted to disallow this? Yes, you could package all of the things that you wanted for grains. Let's say you wanted item AWS. You could use Tmat to package item AWS with just the grains that you wanted into a single binary. And that single binary would not be extendable. So Tmat is the answer to your question. So real quick, we're running low on time. Let's quickly extend item. So we're gonna make a new directory within item. So new project /exec / foo vim new project exec foo bar.py. So we're just going to make a new execution module real quick. I'm going to call it async def. Hub is my first argument. Print. Oh, I need to give it a name. Baz. It works. There. Now just with this project path, I can say item exec foo.bar.baz. It works. That's how easy it is to extend execution modules in item. And later today in the demo jam session, I'm going to show quickly how you can call item exec modules and item states from within Salt. So you can use this today with Magnesium. You can write your own project that this easily extends item, and you can make your own exec modules and your own states, and you can use them within Salt. That's something you can do as of Magnesium. The output is a little wonky until the point release because there's a bug that I missed in the substate returns. So, and that's fixed on the master branch, but it'll be in the demo jam session, and that is at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's an hour and a half from now. And it's called the SaltStack Demo Jam. But yeah, so that's the end. My presentation was mostly like showing you how we got here, all of the tools that exist, and now a brief, this is how easy it is in 5 minutes. That's how easy it is to extend item and states. So there's a pop channel on the SaltStack community Slack. Ask questions there. There's an item cloud channel in the community Slack where we talk about item cloud specifically and where we're going with that. My name in the channel, or my handle that I go with, is Ahmad. Stands for, that name actually originates from someone I really respect named Ahmed. And then I just used it when I came home from the Middle East when I was doing a study abroad in Jerusalem. And then someone was like, when I was playing League of Legends, someone was like, oh, is that a hacker name? Like for asynchronous kernel module? And then I was like, huh, maybe it is. And so then it stuck. And that's been my name ever since, is Ahmad, asynchronous kernel module. So that's a brief history of my name. But you can look up Ahmad you can message me on the community Slack. If you want me to sit down with you and help you get started on your POP project, that's something I'm willing to do, especially when it comes to item cloud. I'll sit down with you for an hour and we'll hash this out. I can get you started with item AWS or making your own POP project. If you hit any snags, hit me up in the community Slack or in the POP channel and let's do this. So any questions? Yes, thank you for the clap. There's Shane's slow clap. His famous slow clap.
So quick plug for Randy's session at 3:30 for about Tmat.
Plug for Randy's session at 3:30, the demo jam at 2:30. If you have any questions, oh, and I didn't even mention, like, there's PyTest POP. Like, writing tests in POP is super easy, barely an inconvenience. And that's something else that I didn't touch here that would be a whole session on its own. But yeah, when you get to writing tests in POP or in item cloud, don't bang your head against the wall. Come and talk to me. Like Nick says here, I'm generous with my time. Take advantage of it. Please do. And I'm going to stop sharing.
Awesome. Tyler, thanks for your time, and thanks for everyone for attending.
Mm-hmm.
This has been great. So packed. Oh my gosh, every minute. All right. So if there's no other questions, then maybe that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
All right, thank you, and take care.
Mm-hmm. I'll hang out here for a few more minutes in case there's any more questions, or if anyone just wants to chat. Actually, we're recording. Never mind. I'll I'll be in the event rooms if anyone has any more questions. See ya.